going to kind of continue his story now. He doesn't even know this. He talked about the B-26s in Hawaii. I have a hunch that his seventh cousin, once removed, knew my pilot.
Probably.
My pilot was one of the called the flying sergeants in Hawaii. One of them trained the Marines, one of them trained the Navy, and one of them trained the Air Corps. I mean, there may have been more than that, more than the three, but they taught the three. And they taught them, it was exclusively B-26s. And they got the new pilots and trained them how to do it. This is a little bit ahead of time, but I'll tell you a story about my pilot. It was during, the war had already been declared, and he was itching to get into the war, and they wouldn't let him. They wanted to keep him in training. So he was teaching another pilot, and by the way, another pilot in one of my reunions told me this story. And it's the first time I'd ever heard this story. Mitch wanted to get into the conflict so, he was really itching, and they wouldn't let him. So when he had a pilot, a trainer, he was training a pilot, and he said to the guy, "Have you ever heard of a B-26 landing without engine? Can't be done. Can't be done." He flipped those switches. The ship went down like that. Pulled out, feathered out, just perfect. Landed a feather landing, and a Jeep along came and followed me. It was the commanding general in the Jeep. He was demoted. But he got transferred. Mitch had 1,500 hours in a B-26 before my crew ever flew with him. And boy, what he couldn't do with a B-26. Well, we landed on one engine many times on purpose. He taught my engineer and myself. We got into the cockpit. He had everybody flying on the controls. He was a great guy. Unfortunately, well, I'll get into this right now. Unfortunately, on the invasion of southern France, he was the co-pilot on the lead ship with the squadron commander, the operations officer, the lead bombardier, and two of the lead gunners. When by the way, the runway in Sardinia, there were 6 of them. There was an old German fighter base. We landed, took off 6 abreast, wingtip to wingtip. Somebody blew a tire, you watched out. But anyway, so we took off on the morning, and I wasn't on Mitch's ship, and because he was in the lead ship. And when just before we were taking off, we saw a couple planes crash into the mountains at the end of the runway. And we took off, had a wonderful, wonderful mission. I'll tell you, when we were flying the invasion of southern France, and we could look down, and I'll tell you, all the boats and battleships and the crews and all landing crews, you could see it all, and there wasn't a single German in the sky. There was nothing in the sky but us. Anyway, when I was scheduled to fly with Mitch the second. We were going to fly 2 missions that day, and I was scheduled to fly with Mitch on the second mission. Got down, no Mitch. He was one of them that crashed into the mountain. We thought, at the beginning, that the wing ship probably forced him into the mountain. That wasn't true. We found out later that the squadron commander had the flu the night before the mission took off. And he was sick. He should Nick will tell you, you can't fly a B-26 unless you're in top shape. and that pilot was not in top shape, and crashed into the mountain, killed everybody. Anyway, that's enough of Nick's story. Any questions about that?
How did Nick do?
You're gonna have to speak up because I can't hear.
That's okay.
Okay.
Keep on going.
I'll tell you about some of the other missions we have and then conclude it. I should have been timed. Somebody time me.
You're doing fine.
I'll tell you about some of my
You
missions
don't have any.
that were interesting. I flew out of Sardinia. I mentioned it was 6 runways abreast. And the reason we took off 6 abreast is we had to fly long missions, and we went into formation at 6 abreast. I mean, we had to get there and get back or run out of gas. But anyway, that's beside the point.
That's a great.
But when we were bombing in Italy, we were gradually moving the Germans north, and as they moved north, the one thing that they always took with them was the German 88. It was the best artillery weapon of the war, including our own. The German 88 was the best, was a real top weapon. And I'll tell you this too, for you ladies, in Toulon, which I'll tell you about in a few seconds, many of them were manned by females. We found that I think it was my left wing that went down that day. Some of them, they landed right in the middle of Toulon. The French hit them, got some of them back. And those that came back were the ones that told us that the females were manning the anti-aircraft guns. I'll tell you about Toulon. I think that's about my 5th mission. It was before the invasion of southern France. Excuse me. I'm gonna have to wet my foot. Excuse me. But in Toulon, there were 500 guns shooting us in Toulon, 4-gun batteries, and many of them manned by females. They got 3 of us right away. The flak was, the sky was black. And they got 3 of us, and one of my jobs as tail gunner was to report to the pilot any danger coming from the rear. And so there was a flak shot, I'm saying, I don't know the exact distance, but say 2 football fields away. And I noticed it, and then I saw a second shot, and it was closer. And I said, I think somebody's got a bead on us, and I had to report to the pilot. And as we were going into the bomb run, and then anti-aircraft was coming closer and closer and closer, and the bombardiers yelled, "Bombs away!" I said, "Let's get the hell out of here!" And Asher put the plane in a steep dive. Somebody said it was 400 miles an hour, which is way above red line. And just as we started our going down, we got a big blast, and but we were in control all the way. But my left wing got shot, and they went down. I didn't see them going down because I was long past at. But I think, I'm not positive about this, but I believe that they were the ones that parachuted over Toulon and landed in the middle of Toulon. The French would take them under tow, put them in their houses and hide them. And this one guy that came back was a gunner on his first mission. He was a gunner, and he got to the Italian partisans, and they eventually got him back to our squadron. And he was the one, I believe, that told us that the 88s were banned by women. I don't know that for sure, but anyway, Hoyt First mission, he went home. After you once go down over enemy territory, you can't fly in that area again, or you'll be shot as a spy if you're caught. Anyway, Hoyt made it back up. I don't know whether he flew again or not. Never heard from him. Another mission that you might be interested in, I'm a little out of whack as to which one. This is later on. We were flying over Stuttgart, Germany. And we were getting, oh, by the way, when we got down in Corsica, we had 100 holes in our aircraft. Anyway, we were flying over Stuttgart, Germany, and we were getting the hell shot out of us.
Jerry, was that Corsica or Sardinia?
I think we were at a lower altitude than normal. I know we were. Excuse me. The intelligence report said we were at 13,000 feet. Like hell we were. And we were much, much lower, but we were getting the hell shot out of it. And I was in the lead ship with O'Mahony. You mentioned O'Mahony. He was in the bubble, telling what was going on. I don't remember who else was on it, but we were in the. Oh no, that's another story. We got home, and everything was fine. Next part of this story was in 1985. I went back and retraced my steps of World War II. And I went through Corsica, we went through Sardinia and Corsica, and we got to France. And then I decided I was going to see if I could find my 2 lost cousins in Berlin. And I was on the train to Berlin, and there was 2 German men and a German woman on the train in our compartment. And the 2 men spoke English very well. And they asked me what I was doing, and I was really very antsy about this. And I said, I'm retracing my steps of World War II. And they said, well, what did you do? And I was really antsy at this. I said, I was in bombers. And I asked the older man, I said, were you in the German Army? Yeah, sure. What'd you do? He said, I was an anti-aircraft gunner. I said, where were you? Excuse me, I get choked up telling his story. Unit 1. I said, where were you? And he said, Stuttgart. I said, oh God, I'll never forget that place. It was on Easter Sunday. He held up 2 fingers. Twin engine? Yeah. He was shooting at us. And
small world.
We became great friends. And I went to Germany 3 times, visited him and his family. He came to America and visited us on 3 occasions. Every New Year's Day, we talked to each other to wish each other Happy New Year. Sorry. Uli Bear was a great friend.
What was his name, Jerry? What was his name?
Uli Bear.
Oh.
He was professor of engineering at the Braunschweig University. Great guy. Marlis, his wife, was a great, great woman. And when the last couple of times we visited her, she had open sores on her legs that couldn't heal for some. And poor Uli, 3 or 4 times a day, had to change bandages. And she died in about 4 or 5 years. And Uli died about 2 or 3 years ago, I guess. About 3 years ago. We stopped talking to each other. Let's see, what else? That took my mind off of things. I'm sure there were other stories. I told you about Toulon, told you about Uli. Well, I'm sure there are other missions I could talk about. Like I said, when the Germans were moving north, the 88s were going with them. And the flak got worse and it really got hard. There was practically no mission where we did not have flak. If they had us on our altitude, we had it tough. But if they had us at a different altitude, we were shot at, but missed. And but a number of times we came back with holes in the ship. But the B-26 was really a wonderful, wonderful aircraft. It was really tough. And as Nick implied, if you didn't have a good pilot, you were dead. And that's no kidding. That's no kidding at all. And so when we were in combat, we had nothing but good pilots. My pilot, the one that I flew most of my missions with, had been a co-pilot, but he was still good. And let's see, and he was the pilot in my last crash, I guess, the last time. I was shot, well, okay, I shot down 3 times, or by any aircraft. Oh, I do have another one. Somebody else told me I had to. But anyway, we were shot down 3 times. First time was over Toulon, and we landed in Corsica. Asher felt he couldn't get the aircraft back to Sardinia, so we landed at a fighter base in Bastia, Corsica. And then the ground crew sent a crew in to repair the ship, and I think I probably flew in it again, but don't know. The second time we were shot down was over Italy. Yeah, it was over Italy, and for some reason or other, the pilot says we got hit, and he didn't know what it was, but he said there was something wrong. So he knew we were going to get back to Sardinia, so he was looking for a place to sit down in Italy, and he found a fighter base near north of Rome, and set it down. There was either the hole in the hydraulic or in the one of the fuels. But anyway, we got landed, we all got out, and then the ship caught fire after we got out. But but I got to see Rome. And then the third time was over Germany, yeah, and back on the one shot down over Italy, the bombs were hung up. One of the bombs was hung up. They were 250-pound bombs. One of them hung up in the Bombay, and and the bombardier said, "Bombs away," and then and we never like to hear that. And so you probably don't know, but the bombardier, to get out of his section, had to go. The co-pilot had to draw his seat back, and then he had to come through a tunnel to get to the Bombay. Well, we were still in enemy territory, so it was my job as armament to go back to see what was wrong. And I got back there, and the Bombays were still open, and one of the bombs was kind of hung up once against another bomb, and I can't remember exactly, and the Bombay doors. So I straddled, I had one foot on the catwalk, and the other one on a Bombay door, and shoved and heaved and shoved, and that one went out. Oh, by the way, before that, the propeller, what is it?
It's a wind, it's a
Yeah,
vane.
yeah. Anyway, it was getting ready to come out, so I bent the blade so it wouldn't go out any further. And the others were still in, and but I shoved it, and it came loose, and the rest of the bombs went down. Where the hell they went, I have no idea. I didn't care. But anyway, we landed north of Rome. And then the last time we were shot down, we were over Germany, and for some reason or other, and I can't remember, the mission was canceled over target, and we had a full bomb load coming back, but the pilot, we got hit by some flak, and the pilot knew that, again, it's Asher, knew that we weren't gonna get back, to Sardinia, but he was gonna try it anyway. And we got there, and, but it was barely we got there. We came in hot, and he got caught in prop wash, and we crashed. But everybody got out, so everything was fine.
And the bombs
And
didn't
you
go
were
off.
still bombs,
Was
you
that?
still had your arms? Your bombs were still on the plane?
Well, we got rid of all the bombs.
Oh, you got rid of them, okay.
Yeah, all the bombs, when I got rid of that one, the rest of them fell out.
Oh, okay.
But, any other questions about that?
What, was that, you got rid of them on the German?
Huh?
When you got shot down in Germany, you got rid of them over Germany or France before you?
No, over Germany, we didn't get rid of the bombs. We landed with a full load, and we crashed with a full bomb load.
Okay, that's what we were trying to go. You're lucky to be
We crashed with a
alive.
full bomb
Oh
load.
my
So,
God.
boy, you should have seen me get out of that ship.
How
I flew. And let's see.
would you go out? Would you go out the bomb?
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
How would you
Okay,
get
ask questions and then I'll get into that part.
How would you go out? Would you go out the bomb?
I went
door?
out of the top, see, there's a hole at the top. We pull the door down and we got out of the escape hatch. At the top of the ship.
Yeah.
Right above the navigator's position.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
During takeoff and landing, Jerry, you didn't stay in the tail position, did you? During takeoff and
No,
landing?
no, actually, my favorite place was on the step between the pilot and the co-pilot. Because I love to watch takeoffs and landings. And my position was always on the step between the pilot. And my engineer's place was behind the pilot. And he wasn't on the ship when we crashed. And the prop broke and went right past where he would have been sitting.
Wow.
I have that piece of prop at home. No, my daughter has it. But,
Could you wear your parachute when you were in the tail position, or did
No.
you have to leave it somewhere
no,
else?
we had it real close to us. I mean, it was a snap-on.
Right.
And I had it real close to us, we just hoped to God we could grab it and jump. But it was a hairy situation. But I never had to, so it was okay.
There you go.
Any other questions?
Jerry, you said before we started, you were going to tell the story about the major you flew with that had only done target practice flights.
Well, my pilot,
Yeah.
what did I say?
You said there was a pilot they gave you with a lot of hours, a major.
Oh, yes, okay, that's a good story. I got two other stories. I was very macho. I mean, it's very, very stupid. I decided I wanted to finish my missions without going to rest camp. And so, toward the end of my missions, say in the 50s or something like that, I got a major, and by the way, when you got more missions in, you got the better crews, more experienced crews. So I was scheduled to be with a major. I said, oh good, that's going to be a good mission. And then I'd never seen that major before, never heard of him, never saw him before, never had flown with him. So we were in the ship, and I was in my usual position, and we taking off, and we went, and we went, and we went. The end of the runway was a house, and he pulled up and barely missed the house. And they went tree level to tree level for miles. Finally, we got up into formation, and the mission was called off. So we landed. I found out that I was scheduled to fly with him one of the next missions. I said, no way. I went to headquarters and said, I want to go to rest camp now. And so I went to rest camp. That was a kind of funny story. Yeah, that's a funny story. In Annecy, France, there's an old farmhouse. It had a history, but I can't remember what it was. Anyway, there was a girl there that, Lulu. Lulu was in the kitchen, and she took us, a bunch of us, out to ski. None of us had ever skied before. And so we were falling and getting up and falling and getting up, and Lulu was leading us all the way. All of a sudden, we got some gunshots. What's happening? Lulu says, Switzerland. We were in Switzerland, we didn't know it. So we got the hell out of there like you wouldn't believe. But that was my adventure in rest camp. And the thing, another thing about Lulu. We were going to mess hall. It was across the road from my camp. And I looked to my left and saw what looked like kind of a familiar figure. So I waited, and here it was Lulu. She was on her way to around Paris. She was going home, and so I got my mess kit, and we gave her her first meal she had for a long time. And she went on, and we went on. But anyway, that's Lulu's story. And and about the major. We got back from rest camp. He was no longer in the squadron. I don't know what the hell happened to him, but he wasn't with us any longer. There was one more story I was thinking of. No, well, maybe I'll think of it.